Hi, y'all. This is JD Dirkschneider, and I'm sure glad you're here. Over a decade ago, distinguished Toastmaster Debbie Thompson and I developed the first District 14 speech contest in-depth training seminars, and the district has carried them forward in various forms since. This year, instead of conducting live sessions that may not fit your schedule, our contest team has created several contest training videos for you to watch at your convenience. And they cover every major aspect of our speech contests. But wait, there's more. Periodically, we'll conduct real-time virtual Q&A sessions to answer any of your contest questions. You pay only shipping and handling. Training will address contests from club through district level. If you're interested in the quarter and semifinal contests and our World Championship of Public Speaking, grab the current speech contest rulebook and read all about it. Before I guide you through an overview of the Toastmasters International Speech Contests, please meet the rest of our contest team. There's the aforementioned Debbie Thompson, Distinguished Toastmaster Laura Olson, Toastmaster Joanne Sheets, and Toastmaster Trina Mackey. We're all under the illustrious leadership of Distinguished Toastmaster Linda Rogers. Before we proceed, our crack legal eagles from the prestigious firm of Huey, Dewey, and Louie advise me that I must read the following proviso. By accessing this recording, you will hold blameless anyone and everyone who made it possible. Furthermore, you will excuse me and not hold me liable for being old, which causes me to use the OG pronouns he and she, which make me occasionally slip up and use abbreviations which are readily understood from their context, and which, in my excitement of sharing this information with you, sometimes has me stumble over even the simplest of words. I'm not sure this announcement is necessary, but the legal team, well, they're the legal team. Our agenda covers the contests, the players, the contestants, the contest chair, contest toastmaster, each member of the judicial team, the contest sergeants at arms, the evaluation test speaker, those ulcer-inducing technical failures, oops, announcing the winners incorrectly, the contest forms, and maybe some not in the rule book tips from my years of contest experience. Okay, here we go. Did you know that a club may choose its representative to the area contest by whatever means the club desires? It may draw straws, have a club vote, play pin the tail on the contestant. But if that method is a contest, that contest must comply with the rule book's rules. Let's get this out of the way right now. Even if there's only one contestant, regardless of contest level, there must be a full contest to determine if the lone contestant meets the eligibility and the originality and the timing requirements. I know that putting on a contest gives a lot of us the heebie-jeebies. But when everyone knows what his role entails, the stress levels diminish dramatically. And now, let's start dramatically diminishing those stress levels. To have a fair contest, it's imperative that we use the current contest material. Toastmasters occasionally refreshes our judges' forms and other contest documents, and the revision date is usually in the lower left or right-hand corner. And each year, a new rule book is published with changes noted by a black diamond in the left margin. Could be just a simple clarification of words. Then again, it could be a substantial change that has significant impact. Check the dates. The rule book hits you right in the face with its date on the front cover. Here's an example. If you're using this rule book, baby, you are expired. Everything in today's session is current as of July 1st, 2022, but it may be obsolete come next July 1st. Keep it current, folks. Don't make me call the expiration police. Here are the 5 contests that Toastmasters supports in our districts, all of which must be conducted in English. The international contest is the only required contest and the only one to advance beyond district level. Districts may also choose to conduct up to 3 other contests: humorous, evaluation, table topics, and tall tales. Judging criteria varies from contest to contest, but all contests must comply with the official rules. Contest registration chair, refreshments chair, marketing chair, these adjunct personnel are okie dokie mighty fine, but the absolutely essential human components are the contestants, the contest chair, the judicial team, the contest sergeants at arms, and for the evaluation contestant, the test speaker. Let's look at these moving parts, starting with the contestants. If you're a contest aficionado, you know that contestants display a diversity of styles and topics and skills. 2 things our contestants share, though. They're all courageous, and they all have responsibilities to the contest. As a contestant, your responsibilities begin with meeting the eligibility requirements. You must be a paid member of a club in good standing in the area, division, and district in which you're competing. Note the new educational requirement for international contests. Competent communication manual speeches no longer fulfill the education requirement for international contestants. Now, you must have earned certificates of completion for level 1 and level 2 in any Pathways path, or have already earned the Distinguished Toastmasters Award, there's still a dispensation for charter members of new clubs. There is one eligibility requirement that is not usually thought about and should be, especially since the growing number of online clubs has created more dual members than ever. You may compete in as many club contests as your membership allows. However, should you win more than one club contest, you cannot advance to more than one area contest, even if those clubs are in different areas, different divisions, or even different districts. If you win more than one club contest, you must choose which one of those clubs you will represent at the area level. I encourage you to read the lengthy list in the rule book of those who are ineligible to compete. You may be surprised at some of them. Okay, listen up. You must maintain eligibility at all contest levels, because if at any level it's determined that you were ineligible to compete at a previous level, you will be disqualified, even if the ineligibility has been corrected. Now, contestants, you have certain things to do before the contest. Give your certification of eligibility and originality to either the chief judge or to the contest chair, who will forward it to the chief judge. The rule book isn't consistent in telling us who should receive this document from you. Submit your completed contestant profile to the contest chair, who will use this information to introduce you and to interview you. It's your responsibility to present a speech that is substantially original. You signed a form saying you understand what this means. You do know what it means, right? You can be protested if you don't. The rule book will tell you all about it, and be on the lookout for my video on protests and disqualifications. Now, here's a lagniappe for you, something most folks don't realize. You do not have to present the same speech at the next level. You're welcome. The contest chair will conduct a contestants briefing before the contest, and the rule book tells you what privileges you relinquish if you don't attend. If you're not present when the person conducting the contest is introduced, the outcome is not pretty. Again, the rule book will explain the serious consequences. If you're using props, who should you notify? When should you notify? And what do you do with the props before and after your presentation? Hey, you'll come to love the rule book. It explains things like this. Use of electronic devices to gain unfair advantage is prohibited because it's cheating. In District 14, you'll be disqualified if you're caught gazing at that little screen, even if you were only asking GPS for directions to the Coke machine. Do you know when the timer will start the stopwatch? He'll begin timing your speech the moment you say your first word or make a definite nonverbal communication with the audience. If you play some music before you start speaking, the stopwatch starts ticking at the first note. If you bust some dance moves before you utter your first word, the stopwatch starts ticking at your first step. Before the evaluation contest, make several copies of the evaluation contestant notes sheet, because that's the only paper you can use. After a 5-minute silent preparation time, the sergeant-at-arms will collect your notes and return them when you're introduced. In the table topics contest, when the contest chair poses the topic, you must respond to it precisely. If the topic is, tell us about your favorite color, and you respond, I don't have a favorite color, but my sister's husband's mother's uncle's gardener's favorite color is chartreuse, the judges may deduct up to 25 points from your score. Here are some suggestions that many contestants wish they had known before the contest. Do you know what criteria you'll be judged on? They're printed on the back of the judge's guide and ballot. The front of that form shows the percentage of the perfect 100 score that each criterion is worth. Make sure your speech meets those criteria. The rule book will show you what you can and can't do, but these rules aren't all in one place. The Surgeon General has determined that reading the rule book from cover to cover is beneficial to your contest health. Read the evaluation and topics contest sections of the rule book to learn about the sequester room, because that's where you'll be held under guard until you're introduced. What do you do if you feel that another contestant has not met the eligibility or originality requirements, or that a contestant referenced another contestant's speech? The rule book gives a quick explanation of what to do. The rule book also explains what happens if, heaven forbid, someone protests you. Look for my video on protests and disqualifications. It'll help you understand these things a little better. Okay, you're in the middle of your speech, and the stopwatch or the signaling equipment goes flatline. What do you do? It's in the rule book, and there's a slide on it in a bit. It wouldn't hurt you to watch YouTube videos of winning contest speeches. Contestant, I wish you all the best. Now let's look at the contest chair who's a combination event organizer and master of ceremonies. Some of these responsibilities are listed in the contest chair checklist at the back of the rule book. Others pop up elsewhere. Combined, the to-do list is really long. You're in luck, folks. If you breathe, you're eligible to be a contest chair. Well, if you're a breathing paid member of an active club, you're in charge of planning the whole shebang. Make sure it's held in a location that provides the necessary sequester room or area for the ballot count, for the topics and evaluation contestants, and for processing the protests. You're responsible for making sure that all contestants meet the membership and education requirements. The rulebook's contest chair checklist offers 2 verification resources. If you learn that any contestant is ineligible, you can disqualify them at any time, even before the contest, without going through the protest procedure. Appoint an eligible chief judge, and that chief judge will appoint and train the other members of the judicial team. The sergeants at arms that you appoint must be trained, especially in regards to the sequester room of the evaluation and the topics contests. In those cases, 2 SAAs are the minimum necessary. Before the contest, forward a copy of the speaker certification of eligibility and originality to the contestants. Review the completed forms for signatures before delivering them to the chief judge. Obtain a speaker profile from each contestant and use that information to introduce and to interview them. Also, make sure that all members of the contest team have the appropriate forms or access to digital copies. Before the contest, make sure the chief judge has the signed speaker certification for each contestant. Describe the designated speaking area in detail. For instance, are the steps to the stage included? And give her the speaking order. Send the official evaluation contestant notes sheet to the evaluation contestants. Explain that contestants who choose to make preparatory notes during the test speech must use the contestant's evaluation notes sheet. Of course, they can use more than one sheet. The evaluation contestants need a speech to evaluate, so round up a good test speaker and let him know what's expected. There's a test speaker section coming up soon. The timers will need the green, yellow, red timing signals and a stopwatch. Do you know what to do if the timing equipment poops out? Stay tuned. Each contestant receives a certificate of participation during his interview. You may wish to present other contest officials a certificate of appreciation. Provide trophies or ribbons or certificates of placement, something for each of the top 3 contestants to tangibly commemorate their win. If there are 3 or more contestants, first, second, and third places will be awarded. If there are fewer than 3 contestants, only first and second places will be awarded. As always, remember to protect the Toastmasters branding. Purchase your award items from the Toastmasters store or use the certificate forms from the Toastmasters website. If you obtain them from any other source, including those lovely certificates you design yourself, you cannot use the word Toastmasters in any form. You cannot display the Toastmasters logo. You cannot use any of the copyrighted Toastmasters symbols or taglines or word marks, including where leaders are made. You simply cannot. It is okay to use generic wording such as Area 99 or Division Z. Before the contest, brief the contestants according to your rule book checklist. Of course, you review the rules, but the other biggies are use of props, the speaking area, protest protocol, which means you need to know the protest protocol, time objectives for their speeches, and the location of the timing signals. Ask the timers to attend the contestants' briefing to demonstrate the signals. Know how to correctly pronounce the contestants' names and speech titles. And of course, draw for speaking order. There are certain situations that get awfully messy if you don't know what to do. What happens if a contestant misses the briefing or arrives after you or the person conducting the contest is introduced? It's important that you know these things because you're the one who will administer the consequences. And I hope your interest is piqued so that you run to the rule book after this training. Let's look at the topics contest. It's up to you to thunk up a topic and to keep it to yourself until you pose it to the first contestant. The rule book kindly provides a format for the topic. It cannot be lengthy, neither can it be convoluted. It should not require a specialized knowledge. Oh, golly, Mr. Contest Master, I've really not ever thought about how I feel about the Archimedes principle. The topic must lead to an opinion or conclusion. Listen up, contest chairs. Varying the topic's language can affect the responses of different contestants, which may affect the judges' scores. Read the exact same words to each contestant, please. Now it's time for you to change into your Master of Ceremonies hat because it's showtime. Remember to smile real big during your welcome and announce the required yada yada listed in the rule book. There's a new one this year. Each contestant selects their own speech topics Some of the content may be personal in nature and contain language, ideas, or beliefs that some audiences may consider sensitive. Different contests require different manners of introductions, so use the proper one for your contest. By the way, contest chair, until the end of the contest, you must be the poster child for neutrality. Don't make any preliminary remarks before the speech. Don't comment on the speech afterwards. Don't shake hands longer or more vigorously with different contestants. Don't pat some on the back. Do nothing that may indicate favoritism. During the 5-minute evaluation prep time, you'll interview the test speaker and present him with a certificate of participation. Ah, those moments of silence between contestants. After each speech, except the last one, ask the timer to signal 1 minute of silence for the judges to mark their ballots. And for Pete's sake, after that last contestant has presented, don't be that contest chair who repeatedly hollers, "Do the judges need more time?" That final silence does not have a time limit. The judges can take as long as they need. My preferred instruction is this: please maintain silence until all ballots have been collected. While the results are being tabulated, introduce the contestants again in speaking order. Ask each to share the club or area or division they represent, depending on the contest level. Other questions are at your discretion, guided by the information from the speaker's profile. Thank each one warmly, present that certificate of participation, and move on to the next contestant. By now, you know the protest protocols so that no protest lodged will throw you off your game. Before you announce that the contest is adjourned, you must deliver the sad news to the affected contestants that they've been disqualified on the basis of eligibility or originality. The chief judge will deliver the results forms to you. Before you announce those winners, state whether or not any time disqualification occurred. Or is that whether or not how many of those time disqualifications occurred? That black diamond says this is a new rule. Hold on a moment. My BFF Google has just handed me the current contest results forms, and guess what? It's the same form we've used for several years. I report, you decide. We're on the contest chair home stretch now, folks, and finally, it's time to let the world know who won and to present the winners with mementos of that occasion. If for some strange reason you announce the winners incorrectly, there's an app for that, or rather, there's a slide for that. We'll come to it eventually. Give your closing remarks, thank everyone and his mother, and adjourn the contest. After the contest, Make sure the chief judge sends the notification of winners form to the next level contest chair. Oh boy, 8 slides of responsibilities. That's a long to-do list. The rule book does feel kind of bad about that. So it says it's okay for you to appoint a contest Toastmaster to perform any of your duties. Can I get an amen? Here are some tips that may make your life easier. A contest can never have too many sergeants at arms. Appoint more than you think you'll need, especially for the evaluation and topics contests. If you have only one, who's going to monitor the sequester room while that lonely sergeant at arms is escorting contestants to the contest room? Don't forget to provide a stopwatch to the evaluation sergeant at arms. In your pre-contest meeting with the chief judge, take time to agree on how she'll let you know that all the ballots are collected so you can begin the contestant interviews, that the results are ready, that there's a protest, and which contestant was DQ'd so you can notify him before adjourning the contest. Also agree on who will resolve eligibility protests. The rulebook says eligibility protests can be lodged with either of you, but since you're responsible for verifying membership and education status, why not agree that you'll field the eligibility protests and the chief judge and the judicial team will adjudicate originality and referencing other contestants' speeches. Since you'll be introducing and interviewing the test speaker, ask him to complete the speaker profile for you. That way you'll have his speech title as well as information to use in his interview. Sometimes you may finish interviewing the contestants before the results are ready. What you gonna do? Call Ghostbusters? I don't think so. Come prepared with something to fill that empty space. Call for an intermission. Lead a table topic session with the audience. Make announcements or interview dignitaries in the audience. Sing, dance, do magic tricks, anything to show that you've even thought of what to do when there's nothing to do. If you have any protests to resolve, wait until after you interview the contestants and call for an intermission while you confer with the chief judge. That seems to me to be the cleanest way with the least disruption. Contest chair, your mission, should you choose to accept it, is to make the contestants look good and to assure a fair contest. This happens naturally when you know what you need to know and do what you need to do. When that happens, you'll be able to keep calm and carry on, and you'll have a fabulous contest. The judicial team bears the heavy burden of choosing the winners and disqualifying contestants. This coterie of dedicated Toastmasters determines the results fairly assuring that the contestant who most closely meets the judging criteria wins the contest. Your attention, please. No member of the judicial team may perform more than one role per contest. During the contest, you will not be able to dedicate your attention to more than one role. That includes the chief judge. The chief judge can't even fill in for the tie-breaking judge. Nope, don't even think about it. Let's talk about membership and education eligibility. Every one of our contest officials must be a member in good standing of an active club. In addition to that, at area, division, and district levels, our judges have additional requirements. They must have been paid members for at least 6 months, and they must meet an education requirement. For area, division, and district judges, paragraph D14 of the requirements tells us that chief judges, voting judges, and tie-breaking judges must have completed a minimum of 6 speeches from the Competent Communication Manual or have earned certificates of completion in Level 1 and Level 2 of a Pathways path. Nice, right? But just after telling us that we would meet the education requirement if we have completed 6 competent communication speeches, the rulebook adds a sub-paragraph telling us, psych, we were just kidding. The only members who can use that 6 competent communication speeches option are those who joined before Pathways came to their region. I don't know what to tell you. I report, you decide. And the last eligibility requirement, in contest for division level and above, you cannot be a member of any club in which a contestant is also a member. I recommend that this rule be extended to area contests for obvious reasons. Now, let's look at the chief judge, who makes sure that the results are obtained by the book. Just look at your responsibilities. You must appoint, counsel, and oversee the judges, timers, and counters. To me, the word counsel means make sure all members of the judicial team know how to do their jobs, and you'll supervise them while they're doing their jobs. Appoint the number of judges required for each contest level. That information is in the rule book. Appoint a tie-breaking judge whose identity is not revealed. Ladies and gentlemen, I can't tell you how many times I've heard a chief judge say that we don't need a tie-breaking judge because since there's an odd number of voting judges, there won't be a tie. Bless their little hearts. They are so wrong. You're going to appoint 2 timers, and for club, area, and division contest, you'll appoint 2 counters and 3 for district contests. Prior to the contest, meet with the contest chair to confirm the designated speaking area and receive the speaking order, the certifications of eligibility and originality, and the contestant's contact information. Make sure you have the signed certification of eligibility and code of ethics for each judge, brief the voting judges, the timers, and the counters. Wait, why not the tie-breaking judge? I don't know. The rulebook says the tie-breaking judge does not attend the judge's briefing. Go figure. The rulebook does say that you must notify the TBJ of the speaking area. I say just be sure that the tie-breaking judge knows how to be a tie-breaking judge. Give the voting judges and the tie-breaking judge the precise description of the designated speaking area. Make sure the voting judges know how to protest and how to process a protest. The timers and counters should know what to do if the winners are incorrectly announced. Give everyone on your team the speaking order. If anyone doesn't have the relevant form, please provide it. You do have extra copies or digital copies available, don't you? Even though the judges have signed their judges' certs that they have read our code of ethics, go over the 5 elements with them, and we'll look at them later. While the contest is going on, handle any situation that may prevent your team from fulfilling their responsibilities, such as equipment failure. More on that later. After the last contestant, collect the time record sheet and the tie-breaking judge's ballot. The ballot counters will collect the ballots from the voting judges, and when all ballots have been collected, lead the counters into the ballot room. Check the ballots for validity and make sure that no invalid ballot is counted. And you can't take that invalid ballot back to the judge to get it corrected. If there is a tie, whip out that tie-breaking judge's ballot and settle it. More on ties in just a bit. Recount the ballots as many times as necessary for all counters to agree. Handle protests, not some of the protests, all of the protests. Neither you nor the contest chair has the authority to refuse to adjudicate a properly lodged protest, ever. When all tally sheets agree, complete the contest results form and submit it to the contest chair. You have 2 duties to fulfill after the contest. Complete and submit that notification of winners form to the contest chair of the next level. Don't include any contestant who's been disqualified. And dispose of all the ballots, tally sheets, and time record sheets. Chief judges break into a cold sweat when they come face to face with a tie. Here's what the rule book says. In the event of a tie, the chief judge will consult the tie-breaking judge's ballot. The tied contestant who received the highest ranking on the tie-breaking judge's ballot will gain the contested place, and any other tied contestants will be ranked in order behind that contestant. If you understand how to break simple ties, multiple ties for one place, and ties for more than one place, Well, you're a very special resource for your club, your area, and your district. If you don't know how to break all these ties, check the District 14 website, www.d14.org, for the link to my video on breaking ballot room ties. The Chief Judge must follow a specific procedure, which does not include her saying, well, just hand me that results form because I know who gave the best speech. It does include referring to the tie-breaking judge's ballot, which is why all contests must have a tie-breaking judge. Here are some tips to make your life easier. Be prepared for some no-shows by appointing extra judges and ballot counters and timers just in case. And listen up, there's another judicial team member who should never be far from your side. The digital copy of the rule book. This easily searchable contest Bible has prevented a lot of fistfights. And you cannot hear this too often. Communication with the contest chair before the contest is a must. Agree on how you will indicate that the ballots have been collected, that the results are ready, that a protest has been lodged, that there's been a disqualification, that the equipment has malfunctioned. If anything else needs his attention during the contest, don't be shy about interrupting for a judicial review. Before you set foot on the speech contest floor, understand how to break every conceivable type of tie. Chief Judge, when you properly train your team and work closely with the contest chair, you'll have an easy contest and your check will be in the mail. The voting and tie-breaking judges determine who the best speakers are in the contest. Before the contest, attend the judge's briefing. Submit your judge's certification of eligibility to the chief judge. Understand the judge's code of ethics. Understand how to use the judge's guide and ballot. Understand the procedure for lodging a protest and the procedure for resolving a protest. During the contest, give each contest speech your full attention, judging only those criteria on the back of the guide and ballot. That grid on the front is the guide to help you decide your vote. Here's a tip. Bring some paper to take notes on during the speeches. This may come in handy if you have to break your own ties later. Don't let your vote go to waste. Invalid ballots can't be counted, so make sure yours includes the correct number of places. Voting judges place their top 3 choices, and TBJs rank all contestants. Break your own ties. Only one name can be entered on each line. Sign your ballot and print your name, and do write legibly. Our ballot counters aren't paid enough to engage their psychic energies. Your guide is confidential. After you submit your ballot, dispose of it in a manner that renders it unreadable. The chief judge oversees the protest procedure, but only voting judges adjudicate those protests. In protest, as well as in the contest results, The decision of the judges is final. Let's talk about that code of ethics. There are 5 elements to it. Try your darndest to be impartial. Don't like Susie? You still got to judge her according to the written criteria. Don't consider time. That's not your job. If a contestant freezes and leaves the stage after 2 sentences, you must judge what you've heard by the criteria of that contest. You never know. The other contestants may choke too, and you'll have to choose the winners from among a pool of frozen contestants. Follow the rules and judge only by the official criteria. Keep it in-house. If the contest goes sideways, don't criticize it publicly. Don't discuss how you voted. Contestants want to ask you what you thought of their speeches. Explain that your code of ethics prevents you from chit-chatting about that. Except at club and area contests, you cannot be a member of any club that any contestant belongs to. Of course, you must avoid any conflict of interest. If your ex-husband is a contestant, recuse yourself to avoid the temptation to shave off a bunch of points. Judges, you determine which contestant advances to the next level. The proficiency and integrity that you demonstrate at any international speech contest affects who will be our next world champion of public speaking. No pressure. It takes a strong will to be a timer because timers can't get so wrapped up in a great speech that they forget to operate the timing equipment. In order to be a timer, your only eligibility requirement is to be a member in good standing of an active club. There are 2 timers, so decide which one of you will drive the stopwatch and who will drive the timing signals. Sometimes you may get equipment that you're not familiar with. Become familiar with it before contest time, and remember to keep the green on until it's time for the yellow, and then the yellow stays on until it's time for the red. The red stays on until the contestant concludes his speech. What if the equipment dies? We'll delve into this later. During the contestant briefing, be available to demonstrate the signals. Different contests have different time objectives. Know them for the contest you're timing. They're right on the time record sheet. Don't discuss or divulge the timing results or disqualifications with anyone. That includes contestants. Know when to start your stopwatch. The rule book says timing begins with the contestant's first definite verbal or nonverbal communication with the audience. This usually will be the first word uttered by the contestant, but would include any other communication, such as sound effects, a staged act by another person, etc. So you may have to start your stopwatch before the contestant says his first word, or even before he gets to the stage. If you're the official stopwatch timer, after the final contestant, circle the times of those contestants who did not meet their time objective and give your time record sheet to the chief judge. Know your responsibility if you realize that one of the winners announced by the contest chair has been disqualified on the basis of time. More on that in a little while. Sight-challenged contestants may choose another type of timing signal, which the contestant must provide. Linda Miller, our District 14 International winner a few years back, is one of several sight-challenged contestants who have competed in this district. Timer, thank you for being diligent in your duties. Now for the final member of the judicial team, the ballot counters. Ballot counters, you must be a paid member of a club in good standing. You collect the ballots from the voting judges, not the tie-breaking judge, though. Understand how to use the counter tally sheet. The instructions are right on it. Recount the ballots until all counters agree on the results. And remember that the information on the tally sheet is confidential. Understand your responsibility if the contest chair should announce a winner that you know was not in the top 3. Ballot counter, you make sure that the wishes of the judges are carried out within the rules. Thank you for being a member of this judicial team. Ruh-roh, the equipment has malfunctioned. Be afraid. Be very afraid. The rule book says, in the event of technical failure of the signal or timing equipment, a speaker is allowed 30 seconds extra overtime before being disqualified. This is a timer's nightmare, since the timer might not immediately realize that the stopwatch has stopped watching or the signal lights have stopped signaling. How will he know how long the speaker spoke before the breakdown? It's a nightmare for the speaker, too, because he's lost his momentum and maybe his mind through no fault of his own. District 14 gives the interrupted speaker 2 options. Start where he left off when the equipment failed, if that can be determined, or start over from the top. The rule book is mute on the topic of malfunctioning microphones or stage lighting. Once again, District 14 errs on the side of fairness and allows the speaker to start all over. Our overworked, underappreciated sergeants at arms don't get no respect. Nevertheless, they're a critical contest component. Let's review these responsibilities. There are 2 eligibility requirements for a sergeant at arms. Be a paid member of a club in good standing, and don't be sergeant at arming in the same contest in which you're competing. Being the club contest bouncer. is not a responsibility found in the rule book, but guarding the doors during contestants' presentations is universally accepted as a must-do courtesy to the contestant. Don't allow anyone to enter or exit the contest room during a contestant's speech. In the topic contest, you help keep our contestants honest. While topics contestants are in the sequester room, waiting to be introduced, make sure no one uses an electronic device. If someone does, let the chief judge know immediately. You're the sheriff of the sequester room. Here's how you serve in our evaluation contests. If you see any evaluation contestant taking notes on anything other than the official evaluation contestant note sheet, tell him to put it away and notify the chief judge as soon as possible. Make sure you have a stopwatch because you'll be timing the 5-minute silent preparation period. Silent as in you maintain the sanctity of sequester room silence during those 5 minutes. Collect the evaluation contestant notes when 5 minutes have elapsed and return them to each contestant when it's time for them to be introduced. If you notice anyone using an electronic communication device, notify the chief judge as soon as possible. Here are 2 recommendations for you. Before the contest, understand your responsibilities and how to perform them. You're our bouncer, our sequester room sheriff, and our chief tattletale. You spill the rule-breaking beans to the chief judge as soon as possible. I suggest that before the contest, you practice what you would say to each contestant who breaks a rule. And role-playing is a good way to figure that out. You can't do this alone because all contest room doors must be guarded during contestant speeches, and the sequester room must be monitored for the evaluation and topics contests. Work with the contest chair to appoint more than enough sergeants at arms to fulfill your duties. If he can't, quickly train eligible Toastmasters from the audience. Sometimes it's easier to get forgiveness than permission. Thank you, Sergeant at Arms, for helping make our contest fair. Protests and disqualifications. Instead of dragging you through the weeds today, I've made a list of the types of DQs and protests that you might run up across. Check the District 14 website for the link to the separate video explaining the nitty-gritties of both. You can have a disqualification for a late arrival. You can have a time disqualification. You can have an eligibility disqualification without it being protested. Of course, you can have an eligibility disqualification with a protest. You can have an originality disqualification. You can have a protest on referencing another contestant's speech. And in District 14, there's an automatic disqualification for using an electronic communication device. Before we leave, here's one more thing. You may already be a wiener. Announcing the winners in the wrong order. Announcing a winner who actually didn't place. This rarely happens, but if it does, there's an app for that. There are 3 members of the judicial team whose responsibility it is to immediately ask the contest chair to interrupt the contest for what I call a judicial review. The timer, because he knows if there had been a time disqualification. A ballot counter, who would know if the names were in incorrect order or if a non-placed contestant was announced. And the chief judge, who would know who had been disqualified and if the places were not announced in proper order, and if someone was included who shouldn't have been. When this has been straightened out, the contest chair can resume the contest with something like this. Ladies and gentlemen, there has been a correction in the announcement of winners. Here's a quick word about the forms, because you know it's paperwork, paperwork, paperwork. The contestants have it easy. There are only 3 forms: the speaker certification of originality and eligibility, the speech contestant profile, and the evaluation contestant notes sheet. You make sure they're all in order and where they should be, when they should be, right? The judicial team uses a lot of forms. The judge's certification of eligibility and code of ethics. The voting judges and tie-breaking judges must use the official ballot. The only difference between the two is that on the voting judges form, there's room for only the top 3 placements. And on the tie-breaking judges form, there are 10 lines to rank all of the contestants. Both the time record sheet and the counter tally sheet include directions. The chief judge fills out the results form for the contest chair and also completes the notification of winners with names and contact information for all eligible contestants, not those who have been disqualified, and sends it to the contest chair of the next level. And of course, the current rule book. All contest-related publications can be downloaded from the Toastmasters website, www.toastmasters.org. To include what I consider the required member of the judicial team, the speech contest rulebook. You can get all the contest forms and certificates. You can search by the individual forms, or you can download a zip file for each contest that has all the forms necessary to conduct that contest. There's also a speech contest frequently asked questions webpage. And remember, to access the District 14 Toastmasters contest training videos, look for the links in the weekly District 14 newsletter, which will also include information on those contest Q&A sessions. That's it for today. Now that you've seen how the pieces go together, you can't help but have a fabulous contest.